Every story has to start somewhere, right? And ours supposedly starts somewhere in Africa. Truth is, no one knows exactly when and where our story started. What we do know is that it's completely full of mysteries.
I've been to Egypt 8 times. Each time that I've gone, we've had access to more sites that previously were off limits.
For instance, where is Atlantis? How did the Easter Island monoliths actually get there? The elongated skulls that were found in Peru. The Egyptian pyramids and many other constructions that were found are some examples of the most intriguing mysteries that we have here on Earth.
Well, because it would require very advanced technology to do anything like that.
What if, in the very distant past, there was some sort of advanced civilization that made this Earth their home and all of a sudden disappeared?
Dude. Oh my god. What the man? What is this, dude?
I was told by a local source that when they were first discovered in modern times by archaeologists in the 19th century, that humanoid were found inside. Not humans, but humanoid.
What if there was something that could actually prove this theory?
People keep saying, where are the tools? I think the tools were taken with them.
Oh my gosh. You are never going to believe this. You are never going to believe what we've seen.
Tell us
Come
exactly.
Look at this. Come look at this. Go tell him. Go show him where it is. Go show him up there.
Wow. All right, here we go.
In 1963, a family in Cappadocia, Turkey decided to renovate their homes, and in the process, they uncovered an underground array of tunnels, rooms and living areas which included many thousands of ventilation shafts and every needed constructional aspect of an underground city which could accommodate at least 20,000 people. This city came to be known as the Rinkuyu Underground City, which is beneath the Rinkuyu, a town in Cappadocia. The construction of the city is claimed to date back to thousands and many thousands of years ago. Our mining expertise today does not compare, since our mining is certainly not without catastrophic collapse. There is no evidence of these structures ever suffering collapse at all. So who actually built this underground city? These and many more ancient sites still remain a huge mystery.
So you're saying maybe that some of these ancient constructions were not built by us?
Well, possibly. You know, again, the alternatives are either a lost ancient civilization of whose origin we know nothing about, you know, so quote-unquote Atlanteans or something. So I don't see any other alternative, because the megalithic construction is technically almost perfect. It's beyond, in some cases, beyond the capacity of what we can do today with modern machinery.
And we're standing in front of a line of what I call line of blocks, which the discussion is, are they natural or were they put here by human or some kind of interference? Now this, of course, this crack here is, you know, from an earthquake or something like that, or the tree above putting its roots down, but these tell the story as far as I'm concerned.
In the early 1990s, a peculiar formation of rocks was found in Kremanawa Forest in New Zealand. Coined as Kremanawa Wall, these rather intriguing rocks were dated to be at least 2,000 years of age. The theory is that this might have been man-made because of the perfect way they were cut and put together. Now, if this is true, it could prove the existence of a pre-Polynesian culture, a culture that supposedly existed on the island of New Zealand before the Maoris. In other words, it could push forward the theory that there was some sort of lost civilization in the past that we have no knowledge about.
To find such even right-angle cracking throughout this wall, it seems too much of a... It doesn't seem like it can be natural.
این هر یو یار سنی
I wonder if there is something below this Kremanawa Wall in New Zealand. But that's not all. I wonder also if there was some sort of civilization that lived in the past that built such similar structures such as the pyramids and many others. For instance, in Australia there are Egyptian hieroglyphs that were found embedded into a stone. This is something that Brien Foerster researched and investigated into a couple of years ago. Check this out.
Actually closer to a town called Gosford, and it's here that there are some hieroglyphics which appear to be Egyptian. And what's impressive is not only that it's been translated by Yusuf Awiyan and Mohammed Ibrahim, who are again Egyptian experts in hieroglyphics, but also that the weathering and also the presence of lichen and moss is the same on the surface as it is in the indentations. And so to me, not being a geologist, but that would indicate significant age of both.
But these are not the only mysterious rocks that can be found in the middle of nowhere that supposedly had some sort of interference. The rock of Nazlaf, perfectly cut in half, found in the middle of the desert in Saudi Arabia, seems to have been cut by someone or something in a very distant past. No one knows till this day how it ended up looking like this. Some theorize that it was the works of nature. Other researchers claim that this is mostly impossible, taking into consideration the perfect laser-looking like cut in the rock. Not to mention that petroglyphs can be found in both sides of the rock. Now, if we pay attention little by little, it starts to become very clear that something was present here on Earth, something that was probably way much more advanced in technology than we are today.
What's the biggest evidence, in your opinion, that most of these ancient sites were not built by us?
Well, again, several of them would be very difficult for us to do with modern machinery today. Some of them we couldn't construct even with the technology we have, like that the Great Pyramid was built by the dynastic Egyptians when that's clearly impossible. That the core of Machu Picchu in Peru was built by the Inca, which is clearly impossible. So what we see is the adoption of ancient sites that are several thousand years older than what we've been taught by the conventional societies that we understand, like the dynastic Egyptians, the Inca, etc.
Questions like, how did they build the Egyptian pyramids? Where are the tools that were used for such thing? Where are all of these skeletal remains of these ancient people, and where did they go to?
Well, the good thing about Egypt is that it's slowly opening up. So sites that used to be off limits are now open by special permission.
Brien Foerster goes on to explain how he had access to places that were closed to the public before in Egypt. One of these places is the Step Pyramid, which apparently has secret tunnels that go way further than ever imagined.
The famous Step Pyramid, which is at Saqqara, which is a multi-tiered one, and we were able to go into a tunnel system underneath it, and I was also told by the same source that there's a huge megalithic complex underneath the Step Pyramid, which is not accessible now, but he said he was allowed down into that complex, and there's a tunnel that goes on for at least 1.7 miles.
Cool. Very amazing.
And the other place is the Serapium in Saqqara, Egypt. The Serapium is quite interesting because in there are giant boxes that are supposedly tombs of bulls, but no bulls were ever found there. Not only that, it's very difficult to explain how humans could have brought these boxes to the underground, considering that each box weighs more than 100 tons. Not only that, it seems that the Serapium itself has underground levels that are still forbidden to the public.
It is very deep, yeah.
I do know that there are other boxes in the Serapium because one time we were there and the holder of the keys, which is the main man at the site of the Serapium, opened up a large metal door and we were able to go down another hallway and there were more giant boxes there.
How far back do you think is that?
I cannot see the end of it. See, we all know that the Serapium doesn't end here, that there is other parts in the underground, and they even have it in that road. And there used to be other devices, I believe, in this place, which we can see that there is a carving in the wall to house something else. I believe it could be a false door, or what we know as the false door, which is another device that can possibly regulate frequency and sound.
And then I was also told that it actually keeps going and could connect up with other tunnel systems. The most amazing recent one.
There's something fishy about these giant tombs, gotta tell you that. Brien says that there was a source that told him that humanoid were actually found inside them when they were first discovered.
I was told by a local source that when they were first discovered in modern times, by archaeologists in the 19th century, that humanoid bodies were found inside. Not humans, but humanoid.
But this is not the only place where these giant tombs are found. There is a place called the Osiris Shaft that was closed to public and has been recently opened. Brien visited this place also. Here is the tape.
The amazing thing is that it's carved into the bedrock. So you go down a ladder about 30 feet and you enter a room. And then you go forward and then you go down another ladder that takes you down another 100 feet. And there are these 6 chambers in there. There are 2 large boxes in 2 of the chambers. And they look like they exploded from the inside out. And then from there you go down another ladder 60 feet and you enter another big room that's half full of water, and there's a giant box in the middle of it underwater and supposedly a blocked up tunnel.
Now think about this. All of this was built thousands and thousands of years ago. How is it still there? Now one thing is for sure, if there were other types of humans living amongst us, there would be probably some sort of evidence, wouldn't there? And there is. We have the elongated skulls that were found in Peru, and not only in Peru. Brien ran a DNA test on these skulls, and he found out something very interesting about it.
So their DNA is not native, or was not originally Native American. They're not the result of head binding. This is some kind of genetic condition. It appears that they came from the area of the Black Sea, which is in Eurasia, because that's where the other largest elongated skulls that are very similar looking are found. Very little research is being done in that part of Russia.
Now, another clue here is you see 3 cranial plates, which is normal. Your skull has that. And this skull is very different from the other 2 I've shown you in many different ways.
Now come to think of it, in many statues and depictions of the ancient Egyptians, some of them do have elongated skulls. Could these be the same people that in the ancient past built all of this and left it for us to find? Where did they come from and where they go to? Well, this is it for now, folks. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, share if you think this is important. We do have more videos for you to watch. Don't forget to check out Brien Foerster's channel. I'm going to leave you guys with a little bit of the interview that I did with him, and I'll be updating you guys. I will probably upload the full interview at some point. Also, don't forget to check out my new channel, link is in the description, and I'll see you guys again.
Brien, tell me a little bit about your background.
My background, well, I've been fascinated by enigmatic mysteries and things since I was a little kid. I went to university and studied sciences, so all of my work has a very strong scientific background to it. So I don't tend to speculate too much. I simply show the locations where I visit and I guess let the the watcher or listener make up their own mind. I put forward as much scientific documentation as I can in order to give a realistic portrayal of these ancient mysterious places.
Nice. This is awesome. Why did you feel compelled to go after these ancient sites?
Because standard academia either doesn't understand these places, or they do understand them and they're simply ignoring the facts, like that the Great Pyramid was built by the dynastic Egyptians when that's clearly impossible. Well, for example, the Great Pyramid is 2.5 million multi-ton blocks of stone, and they say the conventional story is that it was constructed during the time of Khufu, about 4,500 years ago. Recent evidence has shown that a lot of the limestone that makes up the Great Pyramid isn't actually from Giza at all. It's from Cairo, so that means all those stones had to be moved across the Nile River to get to the Giza Plateau, and the timeline being conventionally 25 years would mean that each block had to have been cut, moved, and set into place in an almost perfect fashion every 2 minutes. And there is no work crew on the planet large enough to be able to do that. So it's clearly an inheritance.
Brien, what was your most interesting find and why?
Well, I can't say that there was one specifically. It's been an ongoing series of things. So I've been to Egypt 8 times. Each time that I've gone, we've had access to more sites that previously were off limits, because the modern leader of the Council of Antiquities in Egypt is opening places that before were impossible to get to. One is the Osiris Shaft, which is on the Giza Plateau that goes 200 feet down into the bedrock. And we had access to that twice so far. Unfortunately, that was supposed to be the second to last day of our exploration in Egypt in March, but because of a certain global, everyone had to evacuate Egypt as quickly as possible, so we missed out on that one. For the third, to see it for the third time, but hopefully everything will be calm by next March, so we can get access to that and other locations. But it really depends on what country. There are all sorts of enigmatic places in the highlands of Peru and in Egypt and Lebanon and Jordan and Easter Island and other locations that, again, conventional academia can't explain.